As we start the engines, the first thing we want to do is turn on the fuel pump. I always start the right engine first because you can't see it from the cockpit. So the right fuel pump is turned on. We look at the instrument panel and see that our fuel pressure has stabilized. We call clear and we begin turning the engine. There are three switches that we have to be concerned with. The first is the fuel primer. The second is the starter engage, and the third is the ignition vibrator, which supplies a high voltage to the spark plugs to aid the magneto in getting the spark plugs to have enough life to fire the cold engine. So it takes your three middle fingers on the switches, and the way we do it is prime. Forward is priming the right engine, backward is priming the left engine. So three fingers are on the switches. We prime the engine with the index finger until we see some fuel run out of the blower drain, at which time we begin to turn the engine. So we'll engage the starter switch, turning the engine over. The co-pilot, because the pilot can't see it, the co-pilot is counting the number of blades that pass in the propeller rotation. So he counts 8 blades. While those blades are being counted, we give one quick shot of prime as he counts each blade. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. At that time, the ignition switch is turned on to both, and the ignition vibrator is pressed, and the engine will come to life. As the engine comes to life, the primer is held on steady, the ignition vibrator is released, the starter switch is released, and the right-hand mixture is brought to auto rich. As you start to hear the engine RPM falter just a little bit, leave your finger off the primer, and the engine is running. Very standard procedure. The engine should stabilize at somewhere 1,000 to 1,200 RPM, and you'll make a final throttle adjustment for the RPM to sit at that position, and then the same is repeated for the left-hand engine. On that one, of course, the pilot can see it. The pilot has to watch for his own fuel to drip out the drain and count the number of blades, and the co-pilot will turn the left-hand ignition switch on for the pilot because he's actually twisted around to the left looking out the window at his left-hand engine. And it's the co-pilot who always will bring the mixtures to the position that the pilot calls. For instance, as the engine starts, the pilot will call mixture rich, and the co-pilot brings it to the auto rich position. If the engine should start and then falter and quit, the pilot will call ignition, or will call mixture to idle cutoff, and we'll continue cranking the engine and go for a restart. That's the typical starting procedure that we use here in the R4D.